Hello everyone, welcome to Game Junk Prototype episode 60, recording on May 6th, 2021. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
My name's Andrew.
And beaming in, we have a guest. Jay Cheel from Film Junk.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. I'm a longtime listener. I've been on Game Junk before.
It's true.
When was the last time for Last of Us 1?
Possibly. That was 10 years ago.
I mean, you were on the episode 700 mini thing we did, I think, right?
Yes, that's true. That might have been technically a Film Junk thing.
I know.
I guess we did post it on Game Junk though.
How old we are and stuff like that, but that was literally 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's insane. It's time is flying by, and we're all slowly dying. And what are we doing? We're wasting our time talking about video games.
Video games.
What else do you want to do with your life? I mean, this is it.
Oh, I'm very happy. Not to sound like I'm not happy to be here. Suggest that we're all wasting our time. I don't mean it in that way. We're not out there living life.
Like, to be clear, we're all wasting our time. It's all equally a waste of time, no matter what we're doing. So,
hey, I just cracked episode 54 of ER, so I've watched a lot of ER over the last month, so I'm wasting time. Speaking of which, sent you guys a clip, Doom 2. Here's some game-related content. Doom 2 made an appearance in an episode of ER. You guys watch the clip.
Pretty huge. I mean, there was something weird about that clip, too. I don't remember what it was now. Didn't they say it like...
I don't remember getting a clip.
That it takes forever to beat?
Yeah, something like that. Like you have to play for like 24 hours or something weird.
No, Dr. Mark Green says, how long does it take to beat? And she says for a long time. A long time.
Yeah.
When did you send this clip?
Frank, you didn't see this clip? I mean...
Frank is checked out when it comes.
Is this weird Russian thing that I got? Oh no, that's
my.
Where you're staying. I'm not seeing the.
Well, while Frank's looking for the clip, I just found out that your last appearance was July 19th, 2013 on Game Junk Podcast episode 16. The Last of Us and E3 2013.
Well, I guess it wasn't 10 years ago. We're not dead.
No, but still.
We're okay. Anyway, the reason Jay is here is because he is a very passionate man when it comes to Returnal. And we're going to be talking about Returnal. There's also some, I'm the Sony fanboy here, and my blood is boiling, let's put it that way, with some of the stuff that happened yesterday, to be specific. And I can't believe it's really not getting that much attention, considering all these clickbait bullshit video game journalists. Anytime Sony does anything wrong, they want to have some huge Eddie banner article. Yeah, it's true. I don't care. Bring out Eddie. Don't give a shit. And somehow this no one's mentioning this. Maybe because it reflects more poorly on Housemarque rather than Sony. It can be my only guess. Anyway, Returnal. Jay and I are the only ones who bought it and played it. We are the real gamers here.
That's true, yes. In fact, last episode, you had kind of thrown myself and Sean under the bus, suggesting that this game is too hard for us and that we would not
stand by that statement.
The question is it too hard for you, Frank? That's what everybody wants to know right now.
It is. It's a little too hard, in my opinion.
He did have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder when he was saying it, to be honest. Like, as though
I was just letting you know. Look, people are saying it's extremely hard.
Well, I have the clip. We can play it. I mean,
I will be going to play Returnal very shortly, and Sean, looks like it might be a little too intense for Sean. He's probably going to back out to. This is the problem when you make hard games.
This guy.
Oh, like I said, stand by what I said. Now we'll get into why this is a perfect game for Jay, and it basically revolves around you not being able to beat it or having any desire to beat it. Whereas I do have a desire to beat games. And Returnal, let's talk first impressions. Atmosphere, like concept, visuals, absolutely amazing. I love everything about it. I am embarrassed to say that I did not recognize how much it borrows and how liberally it borrows from Prometheus. Jay had to point that out to me, so I will admit embarrassment in that regard, because it is borrowing ideas from Prometheus all over the place, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it's got its own vibe. Maybe a little Prometheus with a touch of Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat when it comes to the enemies.
A little bit of the Matrix, too.
A little bit of the Matrix, sure, yeah. I'll concede that.
And I don't know if you agree, but the main character, I feel like her voice is a Sigourney Weaver sound-alike.
I felt the influence of, I can't remember the actress from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's who like when they first had the trailer for that game, I thought for sure they actually had her as
Captain
the actress.
But, correct?
Yeah.
But I don't think, there's some similarities. It's not her likeness exactly, or I don't think she was involved in the motion capture or anything like that. But Returnal is by Housemarque. It is, if you want to boil it down, it's very simple, and I can't believe, to my knowledge, it hasn't been done before. It's a AAA roguelike. Like, it's about as simple as it gets. And
I just, right off the top here, I just want to give a little hot take.
I love hot takes. Bring it.
Do people like roguelikes, or do they think it's cool to say that something is a roguelike?
No, people really enjoy roguelikes.
I think people just like to say that they enjoy roguelikes, even though I have zero information to back that up, and I cannot name a roguelike other than Returnal, but I will stick behind this.
Look, if you want to get this inside joke, you're going to have to dish it out for the Film Junk Patreon. This is not why people
drop some tier on the Film Junk Patreon.
I know you're trying to make cash, but
I'm cross-promoting here. Right?
I gotcha. I don't think it's the same thing at all, because ultimately roguelike, I mean, you could say it's a genre, but it's more of a design pattern, right? Like, you could have a roguelike that is a action game, a shooter, a
brawler?
So I guess
roguelike brawler?
Well, you did the one, World of Horror. I guess technically that's roguelite, or maybe it is a roguelike. That's kind of a text-based adventure. So maybe I should be more specific and say Returnal is a AAA action shooter roguelike.
So you're putting roguelike amongst the genres.
Yeah, I mean, at this point we have to say, yeah, is there a term for this? It's like a modifier, design pattern. Like, ultimately,
it's a form.
It's a form.
Same conversations with documentary and animation, which you have been guilty of in the past, suggesting animation as a genre, but it's a form. Within animation, you can have horror,
exactly. Sure,
comedy, drama, whatever. Same thing with documentary. Documentary isn't a genre; it's a form.
True. And just like
promoting here,
Metroid likes are not a genre.
What is for? I know,
form.
Maybe this is for all of the listeners. They might be annoyed by me requesting the explanation of this distinction, but maybe you could just give a brief summary of what a roguelike is and what a roguelite is for people who aren't entirely sure, and where the name comes from.
I think they're all based on an original game called Rogue, which had this design idea. I think it was in the 80s, possibly 70s. I'm not sure. And it really wasn't utilized again until pretty recently. I'm not sure which game actually did it. Does anyone know? I don't.
I don't recall the first one.
I remember hearing about it like from Binding of Isaac. That was a big one.
Yeah, that was.
But I'm sure there were.
I mean, the Souls games were influenced to some degree by them. But anyway, the idea of a rogue game is, or roguelike, is you have like kind of this procedurally generated level or levels that you do not maintain anything from playthrough to playthrough. So by that definition, Returnal...
That is a rogue-like.
Yes, Returnal might be more like a roguelite because there are some carryover elements, although there's very minimal carryover in leveling systems. So
a roguelite, you do carry over things.
Correct. Roguelike, there's no carryover. Each run is unique. You start from scratch every time. Although
when you die, you're dead.
Even in Binding of Isaac, that's not 100% true because the story changes based on how many times you've beaten it and stuff like that. So they all have some kind of progression element at a very minimal level. Yeah, but you're trying to get to the end. Every run is different. It's a different combination of randomness and modifiers, which, you know, different games have. A lot of them call them artifacts now or buffs that, you know, work in combination to change that run to be like a different play style. And games incorporate different types of runs or playthroughs based on, you know, weapon selection and unlocking weapon selection in roguelites like Dead Cells and what's another good one like that? Like Hades. You can pick different weapons for your run. So, I mean, the thing that is appealing about roguelikes and roguelites is each run is its own thing, and you're kind of building almost an embedded narrative of this is my run. This is what happened. This is how, like, this experience, it's never the same. It's a new thing, and you are having like this enjoyment of something fresh, even though you're getting better at the challenges and like action of the game to get better, to get to the end. So there is a progression just in terms of your own skill in a roguelike, where in a roguelite, there is a progression of just like being rewarded for playing the game over and over again. You level up or get more powerful that allows you to progress further. I don't know if that was great or not, probably not, but the general thing is...
Regret asking, yeah.
Okay, procedurally generated with lots of random elements to define unique runs. Now, Returnal is kind of interesting because there's a bunch of biomes you're progressing through. There is story elements in there, but within each biome, there is a limited set of rooms. Like, I'm very familiar with what each room is now at this point and how they fit together. Like, even I was surprised on some of the doors. Like, the switch for the door is always in the same place. And like, I kind of know what each room is when I enter it. Here and there, I do get a new room occasionally, but the idea there is, okay, eventually, once you get a key to go to the next biome, it's always unlocked. So if you can find the key to the next biome more quickly, you can do that, and you don't have to beat the boss. Where in a lot of roguelites and roguelikes, you have to always beat that boss and progress. Although some do it in random order, it's up to you to which area you go. So there's a whole bunch of different ways, but basically the action in Returnal is a shooter, third-person shooter, and Housemarque is known for doing shooting games. And I think like where this game shines is the different weapons and a lot of the skill systems for leveling weapons, alternate fire. I think we'll talk about haptic feedback and stuff like that. But in general, I really like the game. I do think it's too hard. We can get into specifics as to why I think it's too hard. And part of it is I'm just not that good, or I have carryover from other games right now that I'm trying to shed. But a lot of the complaints are also that runs are too long. To go from beginning to end, you know, you're playing for 2 to 3 hours at a time, and there's currently no way to save in between. So, Jay, give us the goods. Why do you love Returnal?
Well, Frank, I like the colors. I like... I mean, what it comes down to is I would say, first off, I did go in and I figured I should look at where I'm at in the game. Although, as you say, it's a roguelite, so it's not like, you know, but for what it's worth, the progress, you can see your progress. Is that just trophy progress?
Did the activity cards on the home menu?
No, just this. Progress, 2%.
That's how many trophies you've unlocked, yeah.
I've unlocked 2 out of 31. The activity cards, I have, let's see, Spitmaw expert, 0%. Calculated risk, I'm at 26%. Overgrown ruins, something or other, 25%. So I don't know. I'm doing okay, I guess.
Let's put it this way. You're in the first biome. Have you seen the boss yet? Have you seen Frike?
I don't know what the boss is.
You haven't seen the boss.
I could have seen the boss. I could have beat it. I don't know.
Have you done a house? Now, the game is interspersed with narrative sequences that are from a first-person perspective where you go into a house. Have you done one of those yet?
No, but I have done the first person's perspective when the game starts.
Okay, all right. So I'd say you haven't done much, but Jay, that's what you love about it. You're here for the next gen technology, getting a little fix, a little gaming fix in. You're not here for the long play.
No, I don't have. I mean, I'm certainly not a hardcore gamer. I don't have a gaming chair. I am not a Carnox legend as you are, Frank.
Carnox legend?
But I do enjoy playing games every once in a while, and I don't play for long sessions. So that actually, you would think, would go against Returnal. That would be a big point off, because, as you say, the runs are very long. But I usually die 25 minutes in, right? So I'm getting a good 25 minutes of gameplay. And I think the core thing for me, because I'm not interested at all in trophy collection, I could not be interested in anything less than trophies in video games. The idea of it being...
This is not an issue of trophy collection, by the way. It's not a hard game to get trophies on. It's a hard game to beat, which has nothing to do with trophies.
I'm just saying, when it comes to games, trophies are not... I don't care. So I'm not concerned with, finding anything, or I just want to play. I want to have an experience. I want to feel like I'm not necessarily, I don't have to accomplish something, I guess, but I want to have fun. I am someone who will drop out of a game if I have to restart over and over in a story-based game, or in a game that, like something like, I talked about Miles Morales, the Spider-Man game, and being frustrated with the same sort of levels over and over and over. And I'm guessing it's just because I'm not finding that particular style of gameplay that fun. The idea of being on rafters and webbing people up and just doing that over and over again. Whereas with Returnal...
Returnal is that. It's doing the same thing over and over again and literally making no progress.
Fun. I find it enjoyable, just the act of running around and shooting. I'm enjoying. And I think it's because it's an arcade sort of experience. And
I don't want to put you on the spot here. Have you unlocked the sword yet?
There's a sword?
Pretty early.
Where's the sword? I mean, I've played about 2 hours. I'm not officially reviewing the game.
I know. I'm not officially here. I don't know if I'll ever. You just love the game. And I just think it's interesting that
I can say, as someone who's a very casual gamer, going in and just running around and shooting, I really like the haptic feedback, the different levels of the triggers. I think that works really well. I think it feels very satisfying.
Let's get into that. So there's been some debate on the show as to how overrated haptic feedback is on the DualSense, and I liked it in Astrobot. Haven't really played a game that convinced me it was a next-gen feature. I think Returnal does. I think the light versus strong focus on the left trigger for shooting is... I'm still not like fully adapted to it yet, but it makes sense. It's pretty intuitive, and like the feeling when your secondary fire recharges that goes to the controller and the audio, that stuff all works really well. So I think this game is a case for haptic feedback. Absolutely.
I agree.
When you say there's like a focus thing with the trigger, is it like you kind of have like a more of a spread when it's partially down and
you know how like to look down your sights or in a barrel, you hold down the left trigger?
Yeah.
There's a little resistance built into the haptic feedback on the left. So a very light, if you just go down to here, there's a resistance, and that's looking down the barrel or focus.
Okay.
When you want to do secondary fire, rather than having a different button, you just fully lock in and then hit your right trigger to shoot.
Okay.
So
that sounds cool.
It's kind of neat. I like the map. I'll get into
before we move on, I could be wrong with this, but isn't the right trigger the same thing where you press down lightly and it's one weapon and you press down harder and it's a different one?
I don't think so. I think it's more like auto fire, like
right. Yes.
Which is kind of typical. I don't know if it's just holding down, which I think is how most games would do that anyway.
But there is still resistance there.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Give you that. So I think difficulty is an issue with the game, and especially when you get pretty far and then you encounter some new enemy. That the first time you encounter an enemy, like you're kind of figuring out what they're doing, and they are decimating for the most part. And if I had one general area where I was going to criticize the difficulty, it is enemies. Like they're too hard, and I think there's a few things specifically I can comment on. The enemies shoot directly at you. The first enemies are nice because they have a horizontal spread of bullets, which it's easy to judge the depth on and to know if you should dodge through them or do other things because it's kind of like this wave. Other enemies shoot like a beam of bullets in a row, and it's really hard when they're drawing on top of each other to see like how fast they're coming at you and, you know, when you should dash and when you shouldn't. And I think the turrets, there's these red turrets that shoot these 3 bullets, and the bullets are the same color as the turret, and they just blend in with them. Like it's really hard to tell when they're coming towards you, and like it's hard to dodge. Like I don't think that, like I think there are actual design flaws with the difficulty specifically relating to bullets, how they're drawn, and they're drawn on top of each other. And maybe I'll adjust to it, but that to me is the biggest problem with the game. And going along with that, knowing where enemies are, how and when they teleport and spawn all over the level, having to look down at the map to know where enemies are, you just don't have enough time to do it. Like I need more indicators to know where someone is about to shoot at me, or there's a few things like that, but there's these like flying enemies at the beginning that are super annoying, and you don't even know when they're going to dash after you if you're not looking exactly at them. I think the tells are a little annoying with even the most basic enemies. But that's my small complaint. Other than that, I'm loving everything about the game. Trying to think if there's like Jay, talk about some of the visual stuff that you were just absolutely loving.
Well, not to be argumentative, but I didn't have a problem with the turrets. I think because I felt like there was a rhythm to the bullets. Like you didn't have to necessarily watch for them. You could run understanding how the rhythm of how they shoot kind of went. At least I could. And is that a case where
you haven't lasted more than 25 minutes, right? And you haven't got the sword yet, so I'd say
you're the greatest. You're the greatest gamer.
No, you are the greatest. You can see what the bullets are doing on the turrets.
He's Neo. He is Neo.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I could get. I usually I wouldn't. I did destroy one turret, but usually I'm just running past them. But the winged things. Are you talking about them hitting you from off camera? Because they do
sometimes, yes.
They do have a tell when they.
I know. I said when you can't see them in front of you and they attack you.
Okay, well, I think I was handling those pretty well, but I am only 25 minutes into the game. I think. Well,
let's clarify. You're 2 hours into the game. The furthest you've ever made it is 25 minutes, multiple times, maybe once.
No, I made it. I think I made it longer than that. I don't know if there's a way to tell.
I added a timer that's optional in the HUD to see how long your run is.
Okay. Because I did do one run where I left it on rest mode overnight.
I don't think that you can juice your numbers with that, but...
No, I'm just saying I played 25 minutes rest mode because I usually play when I'm exercise biking.
I gotcha.
So I do about 25 minutes on the bike.
Well, I'm going to say this is a game you cannot play well on an exercise bike. Like, it demands focus.
I think I play pretty well on an exercise. No, but in terms of the visuals, first off, I love the image on the menu screen, like that image that's the, I guess, game art or poster or whatever with all the helmets representing all of the different deaths. Frank didn't even get that. He doesn't understand what that art represents. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Look at the art. Are you looking at it right now with your... Google it. And
what am I Googling?
just the Returnal packaging. I don't know. The Returnal menu. It's
the menu or packaging?
Art, the main game art. Let's see, Returnal game pack. Yeah, let's see.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. All the helmets behind the character represent all of the deaths.
I'm gonna be 100% honest. Didn't really notice they were helmets before.
Now you know. I really like the design of the character. As you said, a lot of this is pulling from Prometheus and from Alien. The color palette I like, the blues and greens, the hues. Love the hues. And I do like the enemy design. One thing, if I were to criticize anything in regards to the next gen experience, I think the effects are great, the lighting is great, all of that is great, but the face of the character still, I feel like it's, especially compared to something like Miles Morales, the face still feels a little lifeless and a little face transplanty.
To be fair, that could be an element of the story that you'll never discover.
That it's a face transplant.
Oh, it's intended to be lifeless.
Oh, maybe. But I, as you said, the weapons, I like the effects on the weapons. And I guess kind of like thinking of games like the NHL games, or just to, give a little shout out to Andrew over there sitting.
Now we're talking.
Quiet, yeah. Or thinking back to Wave Race. These games where the controls feel immersive in a way that is unexplainable to the average person. I feel like with Returnal, although the gameplay is fairly standard, there's something about the control scheme, and it could be partially the haptic feedback experience, that makes the actual gameplay fun and immersive for me, where I think it's just a combination of all of those things, and the fact that I don't really care about needing to beat the game are giving me some great enjoyment up until this point. And I'm sure there will be a point where it wears off and maybe I'll hit the ceiling and just be like, okay, it's definitely, I'm not arguing that it's not hard. It definitely is hard. And the save thing, although part of me kind of respects the idea of not having a save in there to stick to the theme of the game and the experience that they specifically want you to have with the game, it does feel like it reminds me of our days back at Silicon Knights when there was an attempt to redesign the idea of a game camera. And although the way in which that design was being implemented felt like it could be cool, ultimately it was just easier to go back to a chase camera because that's what everyone's used to. And it feels like that could be something that games come up against in a way that's different than films, because games are such an interactive experience. They're not a passive experience. So any sort of attempt at doing something different can frustrate, even if the intention is good from a thematic perspective or from a perspective of advancing the art form, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely talked about that with, Kojima and Red Dead, like games that feel like they are making you relearn how to play games. And
just before, let me just jump in real quick and say, before everyone watching this or listening to this thinks I'm not at all a gamer, I beat Red Dead 2. This guy had it on his top 10 list, and he's played an hour of it. I beat it.
I think by this guy he means all of us.
Yeah. Although I just in my
triple burn.
Go write it. Right? But hey, triple burn bonus.
If you want to take a bet, you name the monetary amount that you beat the first boss in Returnal. I will take that bet.
Let's monetary amount. What currency did you use to pay for the trophies for that last game that you beat?
The in-game currency, which I cannot remember.
In currency?
I think it's just gold.
Okay, let's say.
I think I ended up spending 1.7 million gold. Do you want to bet 1.7 million gold on this?
1.7 million gold. I mean, I take the bet, but I'm not going to stand behind me beating the boss. But as someone who doesn't play a ton of games, I feel like the experience so far has been pretty good. And
some other nitpicks before we get Sean and Andrew in here. I need a way to harvest or destroy stuff I don't want, because I'm using the map, and if I don't want a weapon, I want to leave that area and not be able to see anything left on the map. Like I've covered it all. I should be able to destroy it and get some oblites or whatever they're called, or do something just so I know I've taken care of everything, and I don't come back to a room on a map to find out, I couldn't use this anyway. I hate that. That's really annoying. The game talks about randomness, but then I get punished for their own randomness. So these parasites, I get one parasite which has a positive effect, and I get another parasite with the same positive effect, and I can't equip it because they say, oh, you've already got one like that. Well, that's not my problem. If you want to have a random game, that's what happens. And I can get fucked by your randomness, but I can't benefit from it. That's bullshit. Do not like that. There should be some way around that, because now I'm really at the mercy of your randomness. And it gets to these points, like a lot of roguelikes and Housemarque games to be specific, where if I take one hit in the first 10 minutes, might as well restart. There's no, if you get hit, there's no point in continuing, because then your adrenaline resets, then your ability to increase your integrity goes down. And it's like, well, I could keep playing, but I'm probably better off just restarting and hoping I don't get hit again, which I hate.
This is the interesting thing with games, though, because I don't know, maybe this is a bigger conversation than the four of us can engage in this moment, but the idea of the experience versus the, I guess, beating a game and getting to experience the entirety of the game and all of your trophies and platinuming and all of these things. I agree, Frank. There are certain games that I think I've played where it feels like if you screw something up early on, you feel compelled to just quit and restart, because you have to be at a certain level to beat it. But it feels like that is, and it could be the fault of the game, but it feels like it's also a reflection of the gamer, that is a side effect of something being difficult, that you are less interested in the experience and more interested in the end result. And
well, here's the problem. To me, this idea of
play a hockey game, ball hockey on the street, you don't, after 2 goals from the other team, say, "Oh, we're not going to win. We're not going to recover from that. Let's just call it." And
well, you would if it was 7-0, you might, and start a new game. But the problem with this game is, that the level of difficulty. What, like, the threshold for screwing up and still being successful is so low that getting hit 3 times in the first 5 minutes is the equivalent of being down 8-0 in hockey. Like that's
Doesn't that go against the whole idea of a roguelike? From what I understand, the more you play, the better you get. So if you just keep quitting after
roguelike, that's true. In this game, that is not true because this is more of the rogue. Oh, sorry, in a roguelite, that's true. In a roguelike like this, it's not really the case. I'm starting from scratch anyway. So to me, their long run times is, to me, a design counterbalance for people restarting runs. It's like, well, this could take 3 hours anyway, so just keep playing and good things will happen potentially. But I agree. Part of it is that just it's my mindset where I'm like, I know I'm only going to beat or make progress if I have a really good run. So as soon as that opportunity for a really good run is over, might as well restart. And I don't know. There's lots of design elements which you have not encountered yet that like allow you to extend a run, which I like and are helpful. And don't get me wrong, overall, I really like the game. It's just, I do 2 runs and I have a really good run. And then I'm like, I don't want to play this anymore. I need a break. Where other games, I'm like, I'll keep playing it because I'm loving it. And this game basically is encouraging me to put it down, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I'm just like, I need a break from this game. I say that all the time. When it's a great game that has a progress system, I never say that. Even if it's a roguelike or roguelite, I say one more run. And Scourgebringer, it's the same thing over and over again. I've played it. I've put 50 hours into that game over 2 platforms. Like, so there is something about the frustrating aspect of the difficulty that I can't ignore. It's too hard and frustrating for what it is.
It seems like a lot of people agree with that, but again, as not a hardcore gamer looking in from the outside, it's a similar conversation as I think within film reviewing, talking about whether or not a movie is rewatchable as being something that is a qualifier in terms of its whether or not it's a great film or, however you would want to use that distinction towards a movie's advantage on like a scaling chart of its value. But with a game, is it fair to, I guess, dock a game because you don't feel compelled to play it for 12 hours straight?
No, I even said, I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily. I just, it is a weird game in the sense I really like it, but I'm not compelled to play it for that long because it's frustrating.
I'm curious to see, like, people are talking about the difficulty of this game for sure. And, it's interesting, like, Frank, you framed it as a AAA roguelite, and it's, in saying that, you're saying that it's trying to appeal to a pretty wide audience, right? Like AAA games are like blockbuster games that want everybody to be able to play them. And I think that difficulty is a big barrier to that. So I'm curious if they will, put out some kind of patch that changes that or adds more save abilities or something, because...
All right. So that's a good segue, Sean. I think that is going to happen at some point. I think Sony is going to pressure them just in terms of sales. I think it is a huge barrier of entry, and a lot of money is being lost because of this difficulty level. I would probably respect the company more if they said, no, this is the game, like it or don't like it, don't buy it. But I think they will eventually cave and put in difficulty modes, and I don't think it's a bad thing to save mid-run. I'm sure there's reasons why they didn't. But anyway, let's get into patching. So
yes.
I was playing yesterday, and I'm going to take a break from this game. When midnight hits, I'm on to Resident Evil Village. I will not be playing Returnal for quite some time, until I'm done Village, I would think. And one of the reasons is there was a patch while I was playing yesterday, mid-game, and it downloaded, and I had to restart my game. And as soon as I did, my save was corrupted, and every time I would play, every 5 seconds, I would get an error saying, unable to save. And it like pretty much broke the game. And it's a thing. It's not being talked about a lot, which is really weird because every clickbait article goes after Sony. And this is like their biggest new game. And it like broke people's saves, lots of people's saves. And I wasn't even that far in the game. People were close to platinuming it, and their save got completely ruined. I would lose my mind if that happened to me. if I had put 50 hours into this game, and just before I was almost done, this happened. And if you didn't go to Housemarque's Twitter, they were like saying, look, don't update. If you turn off auto updates, don't get the update. If you got it, I'm sorry. You have to reinstall the entire game. You have to delete it and reinstall it. And it's like, how does this happen? Like, they're clearly pushing out patches way too fast because it's a big game. And like, there's not enough quality assurance going on here. Like, I don't understand how a game of this scale that's a first party game could have this big of a save corruption issue. Like, something is being really...
Didn't Cyberpunk have... I don't know. It had a lot of issues. I don't remember if save corruption was one of them. I feel like it might have been, but...
This is a pretty big deal, and I can't believe like it's not being talked about at all.
I mean, I've seen articles about it, maybe not on IGN, but I've seen a bunch. So it is being talked about, but I've more than anything, I've just seen people say, be careful that you don't sort of suspend a run that you want to be able to continue when the patch hits, because then you're not gonna be able to continue it.
Well, that was always the case. That happened to me. I made it the furthest I've ever been, put it down for the night, came back, was back to square one. So there's lots of issues with that are really frustrating. So I will not deny that at all. But I mean, I'm basically have to restart this game. So I'm waiting. Figure out all your shit. I'll start over in 2 weeks. Like, is that where we're at with games? Like, you just wait until it's stable? Like, that's all people talked about with Cyberpunk. And I mean, this game is not to that degree, but it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah. You didn't encounter this, right, Jay?
No, I guess because it updated. I turned my system on tonight to get all of my stats for this show. And it updated when I turned my system on, and then I checked to see if it ruined anything, and it didn't. I'm still 2%.
That would not be related to that number at all. But yeah, I'll keep playing it at some point. Love everything about it. The weird thing is, I love roguelikes and roguelites. I love that it's a AAA roguelike, but if I'm being truly honest, if this was just a story-based adventure game with everything that was the same, I'd probably like it more, and it might be my game of the year at this point. So it's that weird kind of conundrum. So, game of the year. Anyway, do you think, like, Huck, have you heard anything about this patch bug? Like,
just briefly. No details though. Nothing.
There is an IGN article. It's IGN the Middle Eastern.
So anyway, have you reserved this from the old library yet, Huck? Are you gonna? Oh, you don't.
I have, but since I don't have a PS5, it's suspended.
I forgot. I honestly forgot. I feel bad.
It's okay.
All right. I think that's it for Returnal. I will be playing it at some point again, hopefully with some tweaks. But Jay, let me know when you beat that boss. I'll send over that gold.
How do I get it?
Get what?
The gold.
You gotta play Nier, right?
Yeah, you have to start up Nier Automata, and I'll transfer you some gold. All right. Anyway, Jay, are you departing us now, or are you sticking around? Totally up to you.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's anything that you need me to provide some enlightenment on.
I don't think so. I think we're just going to get into what we played, so feel free to beam out if you'd like. Thanks for weighing in on Returnal.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, I wish it was more of a conversation amongst all of us. If you guys end up playing it, maybe I'll come back on and we'll do a full review. That's probably going to happen.
I mean, I'll say I'll pick it up at some point, and I'm kind of like on Jay's side in the sense that I'm fine with knowing that I probably will never beat it, but I just didn't want to pay $90 up front, and knowing that Resident Evil was coming out, I was like, I'm not going to play this right now. So
I am looking forward to playing Resident Evil. I played the demo, which I guess demo or the visual demonstration or whatever it was. And I will get that and play it. But I'm going away for a month, so I'm not going to get to actually
20 minutes, bud. Starts in 20 minutes. Get downloading. Use those download speeds.
I mean, I could download it in 10 minutes, but I have work to do, unfortunately, so. But we'll see.
Well, thanks, Jay.
Okay, do I just beam out?
Yeah.
This works? Okay, take care, guys. Gonna beam out now. See ya.
See you, Jay.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so that's Returnal. We will see how the saga continues. But let's get Huck involved here. He's been super quiet. I feel awful. Huck, what have you been playing? Have you played anything?
No. No, I did play. I played a little. I mean, nothing new, but I played more of Kaze and the Wild Masks.
Oh yeah, now that's
so I finished the first. I think so. Last week I think I had played the first area. Now I've beaten the second area, and I think I'm at near the boss of the third area, and still loving this game. I was just looking, and at Metacritic, this game is critically underrated. I mean,
yeah.
I'm looking, and the Switch has 20 reviews. It's a 79 overall, but the reviews that I'm seeing are from no website I recognize. Not a single one. And then let's see here. This is PC 8 reviews, PS4 16, okay, a little bit more. Xbox One 6 reviews. Like, and okay, Hardcore Gamer I recognize. That's a website I recognize. But like there's no other, like IGN is nowhere to be found. GameStop, no. Game Informer, no. None of these big outlets are covering this game, and it is criminal that no one is playing this game. Anyone who likes platformer games should know about this game. Anyone who likes Donkey Kong Country should know about this game. The fact that no one is talking about this game is sad. It's really sad. I almost want to like reach out to the developers. I think they're in Portugal or something though, so I don't know. I don't know how much English they speak, but I almost like think we should get them on the show just so they get like an extra 200 people can hear them. But it's just like criminally underrated, and the game is so good, and I just am sad that no one is talking about this.
If you wouldn't have mentioned it like randomly in one episode, I wouldn't have even known about it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like I feel like we talked about it at some point. Like a trailer came up during some kind of press thing.
It was on. You know what it was? There was a demo on the Xbox like Summer Game Festival thing that I had tried, and I really liked the game. And the demo was not super great though, I remember, but it still got me enough interested that I wanted to try the full game. And yeah, that was it. I think that's where I was talking about it before.
Yeah, but it does. I mean, it's interesting just to kind of think like, what does it take for like a bigger outlet to cover a game like this, right? Like, I know Frank's thinking payola. I mean, I'm sure that's part of it, but
no, I don't. It's not the opposite. It's just, or they don't have enough money for PR companies that have connections to these things. Like it's, I mean, I've released a game. I kind of know how it goes. I'm sure Huck's had similar things. Like, especially now that there's so many games coming out there, it's hard to get major publications to talk about your game. So, but usually the great games find a way. Like someone brings them up, and this is a great game. It is the best game I've played all year. It will most likely be my favorite game of this year, unless something amazing happens and some of these games actually come out this year, like God of War and Horizon. I can't imagine myself playing a better game than this year.
Yeah, and it does have a publisher, but I've never heard of them. Sodesco, I guess is how you pronounce it. Never heard of it. The games they have that are currently listed on Steam that they have published, I don't recognize any of them. So obviously a smaller publisher. which may have a bit of an effect on, what they're able to do marketing wise. But yeah, criminally underrated. Everyone should pick this game up. Everyone should talk about this game. Share, like, subscribe, whatever you got to do to get people to notice this game, because it is a real shame that it is so criminally underrated and criminally not being talked about, to be honest. It came out, I believe, in early March.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was out for PS4 and Xbox. Although
yeah, so Switch, PS4, Xbox One, Steam, and Stadia. Those are the current platforms.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyways, sad. Go buy it. And the only other thing I'm playing, just quickly, I saw that Final Fantasy IX was leaving Game Pass, so I jumped back into my game of Final Fantasy IX. I've just been playing that. So not too much else. Dabbled in the show a bit more. Dabbled in some more Madden. Not really playing anything too interesting. So still liking all of those. Though I fucking hate Madden right now, because all I do is throw interceptions and it's pissing me off. But that's for another day.
Okay. So I got something that I finished this week that could be an interesting discussion maybe, which is Control. I mean, I know we've touched on it many times on the show.
So now you know why it gets Game of the Year for a specific 10 minutes, in my opinion.
I mean, I really like the game. I got to go back to you and ask in a minute what your main complaints were, Frank, but I'll just say I'll say I thought the gameplay was pretty solid for the most part, and I enjoyed the combat. I liked obviously the atmosphere, the world was interesting.
Returnal does everything Control tries to do, but better. Like the action is better, the enemies are better. There's the checkpointing in Control absolutely sucks. The final bosses are the worst. It's just like a bunch of gang fights on 3 pedestals. There's a bunch of like gaps in between platforms that you can't even see. Cubes fall out from underneath you and you die for no reason. There's spikes in difficulty out of nowhere with some of the enemy designs in Control, and you don't know where they're coming at you from. The map is unusable and literally sometimes broken where it doesn't show up on the screen. I cannot find out where I'm going at any point in time. As they add more and more controls to the game, it gets more and more unplayable. Spoiler, when you find out how to fly and you have to just double press and hold the jump button, it is the worst, okay? Like, that should be a separate button. Deciding whether, especially when you're like near a railing and you have to jump over a railing, it would play this animation trying to get over, and I would fall to my death all the time because I didn't time the hold for the second flight or something like that. It's been so long. There are control problems with Control. And the bosses are so repetitive. It's just these flying things that shoot canisters at you. I mean, it's not a bad game. Like I said, the most overrated game of all time. The fact that it got Game of the Year, Jay, hit the soundboard, in so many places is insane. Over Sekiro, absolutely bonkers.
Sounds like this guy's something out for Quantic.
I get it. People like the ashtray maze. The ashtray maze looks cool and it plays a heavy metal song. Agreed. That part was awesome.
I didn't like the song. The song was lame, I thought, but the maze was cool. I mean, they may have addressed some of the Control issues. I don't know. Like, I'm playing the Ultimate Edition, which they add some cool haptic stuff on PS5, which I liked. Had no issues with the
mods. Make no sense. There's all these mods that were there initially. I can tell for microtransactions or something like that. And did you ever experiment with the mods on your guns that you're picking up all the time and swapping them out?
A little bit. I mean, a lot of them sounded kind of useless to me. I'll say that. But
the guns are not that interesting. Like, compare the variety of guns. Well, you can't even play it. Returnal's variety of guns and secondary fire compared to Control, it just destroys them. It's like they're the same ideas, and one is done magnificently, and one is like slight iterations on the same thing. One's It's, oh my God, it's not.
I mean, the thing for me is I would not say Control is an action game necessarily. Like I thought it was
shoot stuff.
I know, but I thought it was supposed to be more of like a story-driven game. That was the big selling point. I was not expecting like a huge variety of weapons or any of that stuff. So combat was better than I expected it to be in this game. I didn't play too much of Quantum Break. Was that what it was called? I remember the controls and stuff feeling a little clunky in that game, and I thought they improved on that. But I guess one complaint I would have is I don't think the story itself is that good, and I don't really even understand what happened for the most part.
That's another thing too. Like it thinks it's Twin Peaks, and it is not. It's twin streaks on the sheets. They shit the bed big time.
Yeah, I mean, like it didn't keep me coming back. Like I had to kind of push myself to go back to it a few times because the story was not that compelling, but I did generally like the vibe of the game. And
just because you're weird and have a strange vibe, it doesn't make it a good story. I know we're at that point where
I agree.
It's ambitious. I get it. It doesn't make it good.
Yeah. And I kind of agree with the final boss fight. Like I thought there was going to be something there and there really was not, but
the optional bosses are pretty cool, but they are frustrating as hell.
Yeah, I did one of them, and it was probably the one I had the most trouble with. The one thing I was going to say in terms of optional stuff, I don't know why. Like, there's 5 psychic powers, and I think 3 of them are optional. And that actually, like, I found some of the boss fights. There was one in the middle that I kind of had some trouble with until I realized, like, man, like I'm missing like half the powers I should have by now, or could have by now. So that was a little weird, but. I don't know. I still had a pretty good time with it.
Would you consider it your game of the year? I'm not doing this. I know it sounds like I'm picking on Huck here. I'm not. I'm picking on like major journalist websites that play every game. Like we don't play every game. Like it was a weak year for games. I get it, but there's no way that's game of the year.
Did we do a list for 2019? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I'm sure we must have. I believe I picked it as my game of the year.
It was this, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just quickly looking at a list here, and I'm not seeing a lot of stuff that I would pick over Control. So I do think, as we've said, it was not the greatest year, but
that would have been 2019.
Yeah, there's not much. I mean, Sekiro's on there. Pokemon. The Zelda remake, Link's Awakening,
The Messenger, which I still haven't beat, but
Fallen Order, way better.
Untitled Goose Games, Fallen Order,
Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past,
Outer Worlds, Disco Elysium, which no one had played yet.
Devil May Cry 5. Yeah, I agree. It wasn't the best year for games.
Gears 5, I guess, came out. Baba Is You, Mario Maker 2, A
Plague
Tale Innocence. I gotta go back. I wonder where I put A Plague Tale Innocence. I wonder where I put it.
Days Gone.
Yeah, I don't remember what my list was. I feel like Fallen Order was up there, maybe. But yeah, there's probably a few things I would have put over Control, but it probably would have been on my list.
And if we're going to talk about games that are weird for the sake of being weird that year, Death Stranding completely outdoes Control.
Yeah, I do have to kind of go back to that.
Well,
Did
Sean,
anyone actually finish that game though? I think that was the problem. I don't know if anyone.
Yeah, no, I didn't. So I'm guilty of that as well, but I don't think I put it on my list. So, now, Sean, we got to give credit where credit is due here. You get a lot of shit about not finishing games and not being a dabbler, so to speak. But
yes,
it has to be said, you are just crushing games these days. I don't know what's going on. You're finishing games like crazy. Everything. You're getting it done, man.
Yeah, I mean, I have a little more time right now, possibly because of COVID lockdown, but kids getting a little older too, which helps. So that's part of it. But I my philosophy is I'm still a dabbler, but I'm just trying to, if I really enjoy a game, I'm trying not to forget about that game. I'll get back to it and try to finish it at some point, within the year or something like that. So it's kind of working. And I am also playing Resident Evil 7 right now, which, I think I made a solemn vow to play.
For the record, I will let you go on this solemn vow. I will absolve you if you will.
Well, I'm kind of in a bind right now because I'm trying to, I thought it was a little shorter than it actually is, or maybe I'm just playing it really slow, but I'm kind of just in the third area right now out of about 8, I think.
Playing any game in VR, I would say bumps it up by...
Well, and I ditched the VR as well because I had played a bit of it already in VR, but I just felt like I could get through it faster if I wasn't in VR. So I don't know. I'm trying to, I really want to finish it before I start Village, but we'll see where I get this weekend. It's a little slower going than I thought. That being said, I am enjoying it. I mean, I don't know if you said this, Frank, but so far the boss fights in that game have been amazing. And it is, I'm looking forward to Village because, people are saying it's a little more actiony, and I agree. I kind of miss some of that stuff in this game. But Resident Evil, I like the puzzle kind of old school adventure elements that they have in their games, and there's some decent puzzle stuff in here, and it is pretty creepy and scary too, I think, while still being fun. So,
to be fair, I think the only website that gave Control Game of the Year was IGN, and
the only website you read.
Well, it's the biggest one. It doesn't say on Wikipedia. It just has actual awards, different award things, and so no official awards, but I know websites gave it Game of the Year for sure. Anyway, nice. Anyone else have anything they played? I've just played Returnal. That is all.
No, I'll quickly mention I have been I threw on Titanfall 2. Mainly because I was looking for something to play on the Series X, and a bunch of people have been talking about this recently, I guess because there's some tie-in to Apex Legends or something. But I, had always been meaning to check it out, and I don't think I've gotten to the part yet where apparently it gets really good, but the feel of this game, it reminds me of Outriders. Is that the game? Mm-hmm. When we were playing it, Huck, and there's those weird aiming issues and stuff. Going to Titanfall, it just feels so good. All the guns feel great. Now, granted, they have a 60 FPS boost for this game currently, and I will say Outriders felt a lot better on the Series X recently. I tried that as well. So that does help quite a bit for a shooter. I don't think I realized quite how much, but yeah, I don't have too much to say about Titanfall right now, but I will be getting to that at some point, and looking forward to it.
Cool. I played the first 5 chapters or something like that and never finished it. It's pretty good. I thought it was a little overhyped. A lot of people saying it was the best single player campaign in forever.
Yeah.
It's okay. I was not getting, again, probably overhyped. But Resident Evil just dropped. It's midnight, so perfect timing here. Time to wrap this thing up. Thanks again to Jay for joining us. Sorry to Huck and Sean, although to be fair, there wasn't a lot to talk about this week. We were really struggling for topics. So at the Juice Returnal, let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree with the difficulty levels of that game and if the criticisms are fair. But check out Sean on Twitter, Film Junk, Andrew on Twitter, My Angry Commute, and Equilibrium Sis. And of course, check out this podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/GameJunk. And is that right?
I think so.
That is correct.
Sounds right.
Do all the bullshit comment. The comments, the likes, we're dwindling. I hate to be that piece of shit, but
we might have a new Game Junk plays coming soon. Just throw out a little tease there.
There was a test last night that took place. There's a lot of gold that got thrown away from that test. But it takes two. may be coming up soon. And I'll say, from the 10 minutes I played of it, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.